Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Evil Mojo just updated the update notes with all of the changes that they made based off of PTS feedback. And it seems like they're actually really listening to the community because a lot of these seem like really great changes, and I'm super happy to see it. I'm super excited to play the update. I believe it's coming out later this week, although I could be wrong about that. I still don't know the final release date for sure. But regardless, these changes look to be pretty good. These are just updates to the update notes. It's the same update notes as you've been used to clicking on. They finally fixed the website too, so that's pretty good. And the changes are hard to notice because they haven't made like a separate PTS section or anything. They've just gone back and revised the existing changes. So I'll break it down, I'll show you all the changes that they made, and there is also one kind of sad balance change at the end, which we'll get to eventually. But real quick before we do get started, first of all, if you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'll be making a bunch of videos on the brand new update once it comes out, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. But also, if you want to check out the existing balance notes, or the update notes rather, I do have a video of that on my channel, and I recommend checking it out. I'm not going to go over the full update notes here, I'm literally just going over the changes that they made. But yeah, with all that being said, let's get started. So the first change they've made to the update notes is they have finally included the map restoration of Primal Court. We went over this in yesterday's video. They updated Primal Court, and they brought back all the details that it lost back in the open beta. So it finally looks like it's in a jungle again. There are a lot of leaves and foliage, and it's really, really good. So really happy to see that they're continuing the trend of restoring maps that got their details removed prior to the game being released on Switch, which now that the Switch is gone, we can add those details back again. I'm super happy to see it. And there are still maps that need to get their details back. I think Serpent Beach is pretty high up on the list. So yeah, really happy to see that. This is really, really awesome stuff. They also included the mention of some new mode rotations coming in here, so you can see in the core rotation of game modes they are adding in Siege, Onslaught, which are the same as the last patch, and then they're adding in Payload and swapping out Team Deathmatch. So we'll get to play Payload again. They're bringing Payload back for the start of Season 7. That is really, really awesome to see. It is a bit sad for King of the Hill enjoyers. I think that one's been out for a while now, but yeah, I'm always happy to see Payload come back in, and this is probably my favorite rotation of modes for me, personally, so I'm super happy to see it. Obviously, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Now on to the balance. This is where most of the community feedback was centered around, and they've made some changes that really seem in line with what the community wants. I've picked up on everyone's feedback. I've seen a bunch of feedback in the comments, on different social media platforms like X, Twitter. And yeah, this seems like really good stuff, honestly. I'm super happy to see it. So the first change they've made is to Bloodbath. They have buffed this item pretty significantly because, in my opinion at least, it was by far the most lackluster item on the new item shop. And yeah, that was the opinion of many other people as well. So this item has gotten a scaling boost. Keep in mind that they changed Bloodbath. This used to be kill to heal, to where it no longer gets unaffected by anti-healing. It's kind of confusing wording. Basically, this is affected by Cauterize again, but they kept the scaling at 200, 400, 600, so it felt like crap. They buffed the scaling back up to 900 now, which is in line with the old version of Kill to Heal that also was affected by Cauterize. So it's not like the in-between Kill to Heal that was unaffected by Cauterize that scaled up to 600. It's not like the old version, which is at 900. I know it's confusing to think about, but the point is it's buffed. And they also buffed the price. This used to be the most expensive item in the item store at 325 credits. Now, it's in line with Chronos, tied for being the most expensive item in the item store now, at just 300 credits. So, really happy to see that. I think the scaling is really clean as well. 300 credits, 300 health. It's just really nice in line, so that's awesome. Next up, we do have a small nerf to Trigger Scent. This is an item that made many people nervous, and they haven't done anything to change the scaling or the duration of this item. Instead, they've only nerfed the price by changing it up to 250 credits from 200, which is what it was at originally. And this item basically received a price swap with Lethality, because if we look down here, Lethality is now only 200 credits. That wasn't like that on the PTS, so a pretty nice price swap, and honestly, I have to say I'm glad Lethality got a price reduction, because well, you don't really see too many people pick it up. It's more of a just fun item than it is a serious item in most cases, at least in my opinion. So yeah, making it cheaper, I'm absolutely happy to see it. And yeah, Trigger Scent will be a bit more expensive now. Then we have Guardian. This was a very hot topic on the PTS for many people, including myself. This was made apparent to me as the most concerning item on the PTS after some testing and after some very concerning team comps that I went up against. And this item has been nerfed, but it is still getting a net buff from where it was in Season 6. So instead of going from 30% scaling up to 60% scaling as was planned, they have basically met it in the middle. So they brought it down to 45% scaling, and honestly, that's what I predicted they would do. That's what many people suggested they do to make it not as scary. And it's now basically half as strong as Wrecker, and it is still cheaper than Wrecker. It is still 250 credits, Wrecker is still 275 credits, so you will be able to buy this more quickly, but yeah, it won't provide nearly as much of a benefit, and it'll still probably be worth it to pick up on certain shield tanks, especially tanks like Torvald, who are really all in on the shielding, but yeah, it won't be as overwhelming, that's the hope, because whenever you have a game where you're just shooting shields all the time, whether it be Paladins or Overwatch, as I'm sure some Overwatch players in my audience will know about, it's just not very fun. So this is nice. Glad to see it. Hopefully Guardian will be stronger, but not too strong. That's the goal. And I believe that's it for the items here. Most of the prices of all the rest of these items has stayed the same, as well as the scaling. Life Rip's still pretty strong, so yeah, that's nice to see, and I'm really happy to see them actually listening to community feedback and making the changes that people want, because, yeah, the item shop, it was pretty good. I have to admit, I'm mostly pretty satisfied with how they balanced it, but there were some little things that needed to be adjusted, and for the most part, it seems like they nailed it. So this is awesome. Really happy to see it. One last thing they've done that's kind of related to items is they have increased the range at which you see targets in stealth up to 40 units, which originally this was 30 units on the PTS, and 15 units back in Season 6. And this basically makes it kind of like having Illuminate 1.5 in base kit instead of having just Illuminate 1 in base kit. Which, by the way, a little bit of a misconception. Some people say that the base Illuminate range was like having Illuminate 2. That's not correct. Illuminate 2 does say 30 units, but that's adding 30 units on top of the base 15 units, which everybody, prior to basically the Season 7 update, had a base 15 unit range at which you could see targets in stealth. It was really small, that's why you had to be like basically hugging the stealth character to actually see them, but making it 30 units is like having Illuminate 1 in base kit, and now 40 units is kind of in between Illuminate 1 and 2. So just wanted to clear that up because it is a bit confusing, but that's basically what it's like now, and apparently, yeah, some people were having frustrations about stealth characters on the PTS. I tried to test that a little bit, especially in my third stream of the PTS, and yeah, I wasn't overall too concerned about it, but some people were definitely having problems with it, and so I think this is a very fair change as well. Now on to the champion balance. There are some changes here as well, including the sad change, which we'll get to later. Starting with Caspian, they decided to be a bit more light-handed on the balance changes and walk back some of the planned nerfs. He's still getting a lot of nerfs, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be as severe as it was on the PTS. Hopefully he won't be back down to like C tier anymore. We'll see about that. All of the ammo nerfs have still gone into effect, including the general ammo nerf, love ammo nerf, and the measured cadence ammo nerf. They still nerfed It's Got Some Heft, and they still nerfed his ultimate. All of that is intact. However, you'll notice measured cadence no longer has the damage nerf, so it'll still do 400 damage, I believe it is at base. And they also nerfed Rogue's tempo slightly less. They're still removing the stun entirely, and they're still making it a 40% slow. However, they increased the duration up to 2 seconds. And they also only nerfed the damage by 100. Remember, this was going to go down to 450, now it's up to 600. And I can tell you, yeah, on the PTS, this ability felt useless at 450 damage with just a 1.5 second 40% slow. It was basically, there was no reason to use it at all. Now, you'll have a little bit more of a reason to use this because of the burst. In my opinion, if you were going to get rid of the stun, yeah, you shouldn't have hit the damage as hard, and it looks like they took that advice, and they're only doing a 100 damage nerf there. So, yeah. Still lots of nerfs for Caspian, but I'm glad to see they're not being so heavy-handed. I think that's a really good idea because his balance has been all over the place. He's either been D-tier trash or S-tier with almost no in-between. Let's let him have some rest, maybe in B or A tier, right? Let's just, let's make him strong, but not too strong or too weak, all right? That's ideally the goal, right? Anyways, moving on, we have one small change for Kasumi, and that is the addition of this new buff to Spirit Traps, where they will no longer detonate behind or around walls. Basically what this means is, in their current state, right, in Season 6, the Spirit Traps would detonate if they detected a player in range, even if that player was behind a wall, right? So like around a corner or behind a wall, like inside of a hallway or something like that. They would detonate and they'd basically be completely pointless, right? Because they wouldn't hit them. There's a wall in the way. Now, they should be much more reliable because they'll only detonate when there's not a wall in the way. So this is really good. It's honestly, I think, more of a bug fix than a balance change, but they included it here because it is a very important bug fix that does actually affect the balance of these Spirit Traps. So that's really good to see as well. On top of all the excellent changes to Kasumi, this is really, really nice. Alright, and now time for the last change, and this is the sad change I was talking about. Rom is not receiving the massive planned buff that he was scheduled to receive this update. It's really sad, man. I feel so bad for the Rom mains because this was going to be huge, and, well, it's not cancelled outright. It's just delayed. As you can see here, player nervousness regarding Rom's souls being unaffected by anti-heal, as well as lack of time to test the fix for the change, led us to not push out that change in Wild Hoard. However, we still wanted to show Rom some love, and so we provided Soul Harvest with a cooldown reduction. So basically, on the PTS, on the version that we all got to play on, this balance change where his souls would be unaffected by anti-healing just didn't make it through. Sadly. It was bugged on the PTS, basically it didn't work. The change wasn't there, and so ROM was just normal. And we didn't have any time to test the fix. Apparently they fixed it, based off of the wording here, but they fixed it too late, there's not enough time to test it, and because it's such a big change, they didn't want to just release the change into the game without any testing, because it had the potential to be insanely busted. And so yeah, it's delayed. They gave him this soul armor cooldown reduction to compensate, which is still pretty nice. But yeah, it's not nearly as big of a change as was planned. I do think this is a good thing, because yeah, it had potential to be very, very disgusting. What I personally was worried about was not that it would be like the new meta in, you know, high elo, like Diamond Plus matches or anything like that, because there are still plenty of ways to counter ROM. My concern was that this change would become basically something that was super ridiculously oppressive for the average player in your average matches, especially those that are towards the low end of the spectrum, right? Towards low elo, like gold or below, right? That was my major concern, because if you're just trying to play some casuals, uncoordinated, and you're not an expert at the game, right? You're just trying to relax on a Friday night. And ROM, with the ability to basically ignore Cauterize, right? This 8,000 health demon with an 800 damage per second minigun just healing all of the damage back up, that could be pretty disgusting. We don't know for sure, because we didn't get to test it. And because we didn't get to test it, yeah, not doing it this update. Hopefully, this will be on the menu for next update. Hopefully, in the February update, we'll be able to test this on the PTS and confirm whether or not it's actually a good idea. And, yeah, so we'll go from there. But for now, yeah, not happening for ROM this patch. It's so sad. We were so close to greatness. We were so close to every tank being really good and viable this update. But ROM sadly just didn't make the cut in time. It's so, so sad. Let me know, of course, what you think in the comment section down below about all of these changes. Let me know what you think about how they addressed community feedback. Did they do a good job? Did they do a bad job? I want to hear from you, so make sure to comment down below. Like this video if you enjoyed, and make sure to subscribe again for all of the new upcoming content. I'm going to be making a bunch of videos on all of these changes, and on all the builds we're going to be able to test with this brand new item shop. This really is just massive and amazing, and I can't wait for this patch to finally be out. Also, if you want to help support this channel, one way you can do that is to join the memberships program. I don't talk about that enough, but if you click the join button underneath this video, you can sign up to the channel, you can support me, and get a bunch of cool stuff in the process. Another way you can support the channel, and also do something you were probably going to do anyways, which is buy crystals, is to head on over to my Nexus, nexus.gg/AndrewChicken. There you can buy crystals, DLC, mount bundles, all of that wonderful stuff, and support me in the process. It's affiliated with Evil Mojo. It's a great way to support support your favorite creators, including myself or anyone else who has a Nexus. So I'd really appreciate it if you would check that out. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.